Welcome to our SUSECON 21 session on running SAP Data Intelligence on Kubernetes with RKE. We will give you a short introduction, then we'll talk about RKE. Next would be an overview on SubData Intelligence. Then we bring together SAP Data Intelligence and RKE. And finally, we talk about the requirements and how to install SubData Intelligence on RKE. Speakers today are Kevin Klinger and me, Uli Scheirer. We both work as sub-solution architects for SUSE at the SAP Linux Labs in St. Leon Road, Germany. Our main topics are containerization and Kubernetes and running sub-workloads on those. The SAP Linux Lab was founded in 1999 together with other hard and software vendors. Amongst them was SUSE, a co-founder of the Linux Lab. In an interdisciplinary team, we work together with employees from SAP on innovation projects, doing POCs for customers or researching on new technologies. Furthermore, we give development support and third-level support to customers. Our mission is make Linux the #1 platform for SAP workloads. The partnership of SAP and SUSE is now older than 20 years. Together, we did a lot of co-innovation. So, for example, SUSE Linux Enterprise Server is a development platform for SAP, as well as SAP HANA Database was first run on SUSE Linux, as well as Power and x86-64 platforms. We also had the first certified NetWeaver high availability stack on Linux, and the first containers to be run by containerized sub-applications. Together with SAP, we run different solutions like SubData Intelligence on SUSE Linux Enterprise, and SAP HANA Enterprise Cloud is also one of the topics where SUSE Linux Enterprise Server is used. Furthermore, there is SAP SUSE Linux Enterprise Server for sub-applications in the endorsed program of SAP. This is by invitation of SAP only, and only possible after strict code review and quality review. Next, we'll be talking about RKE. RKE is the Rancher Kubernetes engine, which is a full upstream Kubernetes distribution and certified by the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. It is an infrastructure agnostic Kubernetes distribution, meaning you can install on-premise or in one virtualization or in any of the public cloud providers. All services in the deployed RKE cluster are fully containerized. RKE supports all major distributions. It has features for backup and disaster recovery. One can upgrade in zero downtime the cluster, the Kubernetes cluster. In case needed, Kubernetes versions can be rolled back in an atomic way. Now we go to SubData Intelligence. Today, many of the companies have their data in separated so-called data silos, which are not connected to each other. Therefore, it is not easily possible to get the best value out of the data because you cannot connect the data in different ways. So SubData Intelligence is the tool to get the best out of your data by connecting sub-applications with data from non-SAP applications, as well as from unstructured data like Hadoop file systems or other kind of data lakes. So data intelligence can be viewed as a kind of hub connecting the data from external data sources to more internal data sources like the SAP HANA databases running in the company, or to the warehouses, and so on. You can use SubData Intelligence for data integration, as said, from different data sources. You can use it for data processing, for exploring the data, for designing data models, and you can use also machine learning for exploring and modeling your data. You also can catalog your metadata and find more things that connect your data together. Now on SubData Intelligence together with RKE. As said before, SubData Intelligence runs fully containerized, so you need a Kubernetes distribution as a basis to run SubData Intelligence. In our case, this would be RKE. For storing data from the containers or pods in the Kubernetes cluster, we use the Longhorn storage, which runs also in containers. All services in SubData Intelligence, as said before, are containerized. There is a diagnostic stack as well as an internal SAP HANA database, which also runs in a container. Pipeline modeler for creating models for your data and other things like connection management. These tools are running in containers as well. Not containerized are optional Hadoop clusters, which can be connected by the Vora Spark extension. And finally, you need a Docker registry for storing the images of the containers used for the installation of SubData Intelligence. As well, it is used for the on-the-fly generated containers of the pipeline modeler. The validation of SubData Intelligence on the different Kubernetes engines are performed by SAP and the Kubernetes engine vendor, in this case RKE, and SAP. We validated SubData Intelligence version 3.1 with RKE versions 1 and 2 using the SUSE enterprise storage or a Longhorn data storage cluster. Work in progress is the validation of SubData Intelligence version 3.2 with RKE version 2. That's work in progress. So with this, I will hand over to my colleague, Kevin Klinger.
Thank you, Ulrich. Now let's talk about the requirements and the installation part. If you want to install SubData Intelligence 3.1, you will need a couple of instances or servers. First off, you will need, or we recommend using a management workstation and 3 master nodes and 4 Kubernetes nodes, and as well a private Docker registry. This is just for a minimum sizing. If you want to have a detailed sizing guide, check out the link below. I further need to say that this is only for the workload, and if you're going to use that data intelligence in production, you will also need to set up an extra cluster for the Rancher management server, and from where you're going to orchestrate your Kubernetes cluster for data intelligence. So let's talk about the installation order. First off, you're going to set up a Linux workstation with a Kubernetes client, Docker, and SAP SLC Bridge, which is kind of an installer for the data intelligence part. You're going to set up a RKE cluster, and if you don't already have a storage cluster, you will set up that one as well. The same is for private Docker registry. If you don't already have one, you will need to set one up. And if you're done with all those 4 steps, you can start installing data intelligence. So if you set up the workstation, you're gonna install the operating system. Linux is required, or you can use Mac OS. If you install Linux, we strongly recommend using SUSE solutions, especially the SUSE Linux Enterprise Server. And as I said, you need to install the Kubernetes client on top of the workstation, which is also known as kubectl. When you're done with your workstation, you will need to prepare your Kubernetes nodes. You will install the operating system and set up the networking. And for the networking, we recommend using static networking. When you're done with that, you're going to enable and disable some services and activate the container module and install required packages. You can see the instructions on the right-hand side. And when you're done with that, you're going to configure SSH between all your nodes so all machines can reach each other in the networks. If you don't have a render management server set up and you just want to try out installing data intelligence on top of RKE, we recommend downloading the RKE executable and configure your cluster using that executable by running RKE configure, which will prompt all the required information and you can enter it just there. And this one will give you a YAML file, which you can use for the installation. If you have a render management server set up, you can also use that one and click through the UI where you want to deploy your cluster and give all the information there. Next is installing Longhorn as a storage solution. I need to mention that there are other storage solutions validated and supported. This one is just now used for a demo purpose or to explain what you will need to do. So if you're going to use Longhorn, you first will need to prepare the disks, and we strongly recommend to check your environment. Therefore, you can just use that script here, and it will tell you if there are packages missing or if your disks not are properly set up and so on. And then you can go ahead and install Longhorn. Therefore, you have two possibilities. You can use kubectl or you can use the render management UI. And if you use kubectl, you can just use the command right here. And if you ran that, you can check the deployment by running kubectl get pods -n, or for namespace Longhorn system, as you can see it on the right-hand side. And everything was deployed properly. You can see all the pods are in status running and all are ready. If you want to access the Longhorn UI, you will need to set up an ingress for that one as well. If you want to do that, please check out the documentation. If you're using a render management UI and server, then you can go to the UI of Longhorn from the render management server. If you want to use the render management server as well for installing Longhorn, you can go to the marketplace. And as you can see on the right-hand side in the picture, in the first column in the second row, there's the it says Longhorn with that icon, and you can click on it, and then you will see another page where you can just click install, and this one will deploy the Longhorn into your RKE cluster. When you're done with that, you need to set up your private registry if you not already have one. And you can use any registry of your choice, like for example, Harbor or Portis. And we would recommend you to use the SUSE private registry if you not already have one. And therefore, just check out the documentation at the link. There's an installation and deployment guide. Just work this step by step through, and then you will have your private registry for usage for data intelligence. And as we're talking about data intelligence, what you'll need to do to install data intelligence, you will go to the SAP Maintenance Planner and Software Lifecycle plugin at the link right on the left-hand side, which will show you a page like that one on the right-hand side, where you can say plan a new system, and you click on that. And then you will be guided through the installation information needed. And if you have any questions around that, check out the link on the bottom left-hand side, which is for the SAP Data Intelligence 3.1. There's a lot of information about that as well. And now what happens if you start installing data intelligence? Well, the Data Intelligence installer, which is running on your management workstation, will first start to pull the Docker images from the SAP Docker registry and push it to your private Docker registry. If it's done, it will start deploying the data intelligence with Helm charts and provision the persistent volumes on RKE. And the RKE will start pulling the images from your private Docker registry. If this one went through, the data intelligence installer is going to validate the data intelligence installation. And then you have a SubData Intelligence running on RKE, and RKE will store and pull data in Longhorn or in your other storage solution if you have one. And that's it. Then you can see something like this screen right here. That's the login page for your data intelligence. And if you see that, you can go ahead following the post installation guide on the SAP page. And that's where we say, have a lot of fun with the installation. If you need any more information, please check out the links right here, according our products like the SUSE Linux Enterprise Server and the Kubernetes engine. And as well, you can find 2 links for the SubData Intelligence, like the installation guide or the overall product landing page. Thank you very much for your attention and have a lot of fun at SUSECON Digital 21. Thanks a lot.